In 1888, an Egyptian farmer digging for fertilizer near the village of Istanbul Antar made a shocking discovery. Beneath the sand, he found a massive underground cemetery. But this wasn't a burial ground for humans. It was filled with cats. Thousands upon thousands of mummified cats, carefully wrapped and buried in organized rows. The discovery stunned archaeologists. Over the following decades, excavations across Egypt revealed the incredible scale of animal mummification. Cemeteries were discovered containing millions of mummified ibis birds, hawks, crocodiles, dogs, baboons, bulls, rams, fish, snakes, beetles, and virtually every animal species found in Egypt. Modern estimates suggest ancient Egyptians mummified over 70 million animals over the course of 3,000 years. That's not a typo. 70 million animals were preserved, wrapped, and buried with religious ceremony. Why would a civilization invest such enormous resources in mummifying animals? The answer reveals three distinct categories of animal mummies, each with different purposes. First, sacred animals that were considered living gods on earth and received burials as elaborate as pharaohs. Second, beloved pets that were buried with their owners to accompany them in the afterlife. Third, and by far the largest category, votive offerings, animals bred specifically to be killed, mummified, and offered to the gods by pilgrims seeking divine favor. This third category became a massive religious industry, with animal breeding farms, mummification workshops, and even fraud, where unscrupulous embalmers sold fake mummies containing nothing but bandages and sand. The story of animal mummies in ancient Egypt is stranger and more complex than anything Hollywood has imagined. Ancient Egyptians believed certain animals were living manifestations of specific gods, sacred beings that contained divine essence. These weren't symbols or representations. They were literally gods in animal form. The Apis bull was the most sacred animal in all of Egypt, believed to be the living incarnation of the god Thoth. Only one Apis bull existed at any time, identified by specific markings: black coat with a white diamond on the forehead, eagle-like markings on the back, and a scarab-shaped mark onto the tongue. When an Apis bull died, all of Egypt went into mourning. The bull received mummification more elaborate than most pharaohs, wrapped in finest linen, placed in a massive stone sarcophagus weighing up to 70 tons, and buried in the Serapeum at Saqqara, an underground complex of enormous burial chambers. The funeral procession involved thousands of mourners, and the cost was astronomical. Then priests would search Egypt for the next Apis bull, the reincarnated god. Similarly, crocodiles were sacred to Sobek, the crocodile god of the Nile, fertility and military prowess. In the city of Crocodilopolis, now called Fayum, sacred crocodiles were kept in temple pools, fed choice meats, adorned with gold jewelry and precious stones, and worshipped by thousands of pilgrims. When these sacred crocodiles died, they were mummified with incredible care. Some crocodile mummies are over 15 feet long, wrapped with baby crocodiles tucked under their wrappings, preserving entire families. The Butchie's bull, sacred to the god Montu, received similar treatment. At Armant, archaeologists discovered an entire cemetery of mummified bulls in stone sarcophagi. These weren't farm animals. They were divine beings whose deaths caused national grief and whose burials cost fortunes. The second category of animal mummies is perhaps the most touching: beloved pets buried with their owners. Ancient Egyptians loved their pets, especially cats and dogs, and wanted them to continue as companions in the afterlife. Wealthy Egyptians would have their pets mummified and placed in their tombs, sometimes in miniature coffins shaped like the animal. A tomb discovered in Thebes contained the mummy of a man buried with 3 cats, each in its own decorated coffin. The cats wore golden collars and were positioned as if sleeping peacefully. Tomb paintings show pet dogs sitting under their owners' chairs, and some of these dogs were mummified and buried nearby. Prince Thutmose, son of Amenhotep III, who died before becoming pharaoh, had his beloved cat Tamio mummified and placed in a decorated limestone sarcophagus with an inscription reading Lady Cat. This wasn't religious offering, it was pure love. Even birds, monkeys, and gazelles that were kept as pets received mummification for wealthy owners. The process was similar to human mummification, but scaled to the animal size. Internal organs were removed, the body dried with natron salt, wrapped in linen, and often placed in painted wooden cases. For cats, embalmers would position the body upright with ears erect and tail wrapped separately, creating that distinctive seated Egyptian cat silhouette. Some pet mummies had elaborate painted faces on their wrappings, individualizing each animal. Archaeological evidence shows these weren't afterthoughts. Pet mummies were carefully placed in tombs with the same reverence as human family members. This practice reveals that the bond between humans and animals transcends culture and time. Ancient Egyptians 3,000 years ago loved their pets just as deeply as we do today. The third category dwarfs the others in scale: votive animal mummies, offerings to the gods. This became one of ancient Egypt's biggest industries. Pilgrims traveled to religious centers to make offerings, and the most popular offering was a mummified animal representing the god being worshipped. Want to ask the god Thoth for wisdom? Offer a mummified Ibis bird, Thoth's sacred animal. Seeking Bastet's favor? Offer a mummified cat. This created enormous demand. To meet it, ancient Egyptians established breeding farms where animals were raised specifically to be killed and mummified. At Saqqara, near Memphis, archaeologists discovered catacombs containing an estimated 4 million mummified ibis birds. 4 million. Each bird was killed young, quickly mummified, wrapped, and sold to pilgrims who would deposit them in the catacombs as offerings to Thoth. Similar catacombs held hundreds of thousands of mummified falcons offered to Horus, dogs for Anubis, cats for Bastet, and baboons for Thoth. This was mass production on an industrial scale. The animals were bred, fed, killed at the optimal size, mummified in assembly line fashion, and sold at temple gift shops. Prices varied by size and quality. A premium mummified cat cost more than a basic one. Larger crocodiles cost more than smaller ones. This created a market ripe for fraud. Modern X-ray studies of votive animal mummies reveal shocking deception. Many contain no animal at all, just carefully wrapped reeds, sticks, or sand shaped to feel like a mummy. Some contain partial animals, a skull or a single bone, wrapped with padding to create the right shape and weight. Some contain completely different animals than advertised. A cat mummy might contain a rabbit or bird. Ancient embalmers were scamming pilgrims, selling fake mummies to people who couldn't afford premium offerings or couldn't tell the difference once it was wrapped. Modern technology has revolutionized our understanding of animal mummies. Starting in the 1970s, museums began using X-rays and CT scans to examine animal mummies non-destructively, seeing inside the wrappings without unwrapping. The results were often shocking. A 2013 study of 800 animal mummies at Manchester Museum using CT scanning found that 1/3 contained complete animals, another third contained partial remains, and 1/3 were completely fake, containing no animal material at all. Some mummies that externally appear to be cats turn out to be kittens. Some crocodile mummies contain crocodile skin wrapped around sticks. But the scans also revealed touching details. Some cat mummies showed evidence of bone fractures that had healed before death, suggesting the cats lived for years, possibly as temple animals. Ibis mummies revealed that many birds had broken necks, showing they were killed quickly by ringing rather than strangled slowly. The wrapping techniques were often extremely sophisticated. Some crocodile mummies had geometric wrapping patterns that took hours to create. Baby crocodiles were positioned carefully under larger crocodiles' wrappings. The scans also revealed amulets and other objects hidden within the wrappings, prayers and protective symbols meant to aid the offering. Modern DNA analysis can now identify species definitively. A mummy sold as a sacred hawk might actually be a common kestrel. This doesn't diminish the religious significance to ancient Egyptians who bought these offerings in good faith, believing they were communicating with the gods. The sheer scale of animal mummification, millions upon millions of creatures killed and preserved, shows how central animals were to Egyptian religion and how profitable the industry became.